You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hi, everyone. Laszlo Montgomery here with something especial for all of you. Last May, I introduced a podcast show to you, produced in Singapore, called Empires, from Yeo Guang Jin's One-Up Media, that delivers deep dives into Asian mega companies such as Tencent, Sony, Samsung, and Globe Telecom. The most recent series, featured in Empires, that's available right now, looks at the story behind Mr. Jack Ma and the founding of the Alibaba business empire. In this part 3 of the series that I'm featuring on this CHP feed here, we're going to get a look at the critical moments for Jack Ma in building Alibaba and his intense business rivalry with eBay that led to the founding and rise of Taobao and Alipay and later Ant Financial. You know, there's a whole world of podcast programs out there, and some of Asia's creators are really coming out with some great stuff in every category of podcasting. So once again, let me recommend you check out Empires from One-Up Media, and to entice you, I'm featuring part 3 of the series on Alibaba that explains how this venture, built by Jack Ma and his closest partners, became the commercial empire it is today. I hope you enjoy this episode from Empires. You can find this podcast show in every place where the CHP and all your favorite podcasts can be found. Take care, everyone.
Jack Ma once said, "eBay may be a shark in the ocean, but I am a crocodile in the Yangtze River. If we fight in the ocean, we lose. But if we fight in the river, we win." Jack Ma would be proven right, but the journey to transform Alibaba into a crocodile would be a marriage of luck, insights, and pain. Pain not just from hard work, but by drawing on emotions that Jack had felt years ago when he started China Pages. It's February 1996, 3 years before Alibaba was founded, and the joint venture, Diff Hope, was just incorporated. In a wild battle for government contracts, Diff, a state-backed company, created a new joint venture with China Pages, named Diff Hope, where Diff owned 70%. Back then, China Pages was not financially stable, which was why onlookers may have congratulated Jack Ma, who deep inside was fuming. Through a mixture of voting rights and actual equity ownership, Jack Ma was made a puppet in this new joint venture. Worst of all, Diff began registering the domain name ChinesePages.com and China Yellow Pages, both of which are obvious copies of Jack Ma's own China Pages. With time, Jack watched his own China Pages erode away and vowed that he would never again let fear cloud his judgment. The experience would also give Jack many more quotable soundbites. "It is difficult for an elephant to trample an ant to death, as long as you can dodge well. With good strategies, you will definitely survive. To this day, I've realized one thing. Don't be nervous if you face huge competition in the future." The latter quote would quite possibly ring in his ear, then in his actions. For in March 2002, huge competition would arrive. eBay would invest into a China startup named EachNet and officially wage an e-commerce battle with Alibaba. From One Up Media, this is Empires, Episode 3 of a 5-part series, Shark in the Ocean. eBay is a massive online garage sale, or pasar malams. It's a digital marketplace where people from all over the world buy and sell all kinds of stuff, from vintage clothing and collectible sneakers to tech gadgets and even cars. The purchase process often involves bidding on items in auctions, unless the seller allows you to buy it instantly. They call these types of businesses C2C, or customer-to-customer marketplaces. In 2002, when eBay announced their entry into China, they had 147 million users, which, by population, would be ranked the 7th largest country in the world. It was unfathomable that any company could tread into eBay's waters as equals. Least of all, Alibaba, who had just weathered the dot-com crash. In its early days, Alibaba made grand proclamations of changing the world, backed by investments from Goldman Sachs and SoftBank amounting to $25 million. Alibaba had expanded rapidly, even reaching into Silicon Valley. However, the dot-com bubble burst shook the company to its core, draining funding and leaving enough capital for only 5 months of payroll. Thankfully, Yeo Guang, a General Electric veteran, was brought on board to streamline the company, doing so through the threefold B2C plan, which stood for Back to China, Back to Coast, and Back to Central. In effect, Alibaba went from being a global player to refocusing on its roots in Shanghai, Beijing, and Hangzhou, and in the process, cutting its workforce in half. The company then dedicated its efforts to understanding their customers, leading to a lucrative new revenue stream through search ads. It appeared businesses on Alibaba were willing to pay a premium to appear at the top of search results. By the dawn of the 2000s, Alibaba had evolved from a cumbersome global behemoth to a sleek, nimble B2B platform focused on its core markets. Now, with some breathing space and a looming eBay, Jack Ma was ready to pitch an audacious idea, leading him to call for a secret meeting. In the early months of 2002, in a nondescript conference room, the executives of Alibaba found themselves in a state of uncertainty. Around the table sat CTO John Wu, COO Yeo Guang, and CFO Joe Tsai. Jack Ma had summoned them to this clandestine meeting. "I'm sure you've all heard about eBay's acquisition of EachNet," Jack initiated. "Indeed," replied one executive. "But isn't there a difference? They're a C2C company. We're B2B. But what's stopping eBay from encroaching into our B2B space?" Jack probed, drawing quizzical looks from his team. "Jack," another executive argued, "for eBay to do that, they would have to significantly alter their business model. That seems unlikely, doesn't it?" "No, they wouldn't," Jack countered, his thoughts harking back to his days at China Pages. "A small business, a single seller or consumer, they all share similarities. In essence, one individual makes the decisions for the entire organization. Jack was onto something. Many small businesses in Asia are family-run or single-owner enterprises. They might hire staff, but rarely distribute equity. If a single seller on eBay decided to sell to businesses instead of only customers, and if businesses opted to buy in bulk from eBay, their platform could naturally morph into a B2B model. Jack, your concern is valid, began John Woo, the CTO. But we're still stabilizing our B2B business. We must venture into C2C, Jack interjected. It's the only way to guard ourselves against eBay. The meeting soon grew heated, with John Woo expressing strong disagreement with Jack's plan to move into the C2C space. That night, a troubled John called Jack. Jack, how can Alibaba possibly defeat eBay? He admitted. John, there are 100 million internet users today, yet only 5 million are shopping online. The market is up for grabs. eBay might think they can buy dominance with each net, but they are really only acquiring 5% of the total potential. We're not buying the market, John. We're unlocking it. Years later, John would admit that his perspective changed that night, and that perhaps Alibaba could have a shot against eBay. With the executive team now on board, Alibaba needed funding to establish a new division. As it turned out, fortune favored them. eBay's entrance into China was largely reactionary, following their loss to Yahoo Japan, a company that SoftBank's Masayoshi Son had invested in. Keen on restricting eBay beyond Japan, Son agreed to provide $80 million in funding for Alibaba's new venture. Another clandestine meeting was held, this time involving 6 carefully chosen employees. Jack instructed those selected that if they agreed to the project, they would need to leave their homes and maintain absolute secrecy, even from their families. They accepted the challenge and secluded themselves in a historic apartment in Hangzhou, the same place where Alibaba was originally born. There, they would be emboldened by their great history and tirelessly code out the new venture. In English, the name meant hunting for treasure, and in Mandarin, it was called Taobao. When Jack predicted that the e-commerce market still had potential to grow, he could not have expected that the growth would become a whole lot bigger because of SARS. In mid-November 2002, in southern China, a severe infection began spreading. Unlike the COVID-19 pandemic that swept the globe, SARS was relatively contained in China, but 5 times as deadly.
Hong Kong, as a deadly new virus sweeps through the city, one of the most densely populated.
Eventually, 8,000 people would fall sick, with around 800 deaths. SARS would trigger a radical change in consumer behavior within China, where consumers started texting and adopting mobile internet by the droves. All internet companies experienced a surge of traffic, and millions who were terrified of SARS decided to shop online instead. As the market potential expanded beyond what eBay and Alibaba could imagine, it seemed right to release Taobao to China. On May 9th, the night before Taobao goes live, Jack Ma and team, who were confined at home, got on a call. With a glass at hand, everyone turned toward the ceiling and said, "Wishing Taobao a safe journey." A day later, the website was launched with a welcome line, remembering those who worked hard during SARS. After launch, Taobao had to work quickly to gain legitimacy. Drawing lessons from both Yahoo Japan's battle and their own experience serving small businesses, Taobao did a number of things fast. Each of their employees was tasked with listing 3 to 5 personal items for sale, which collectively amounted to over 30 unique listings on their platform. For marketing, they reached out to hundreds of nascent online communities overlooked by EachNet to initiate conversations. While Taobao's budding user base may have seemed insignificant in comparison to EachNet, it was steadily growing. At this juncture, EachNet boasted a robust community of over 3 million registered users, with daily engagement exceeding 100,000 visits. Based in Shanghai, EachNet had expanded its reach to Beijing and Guangzhou, with more than half of its trading parties sprawled beyond these cities. The platform catered to a wide range of needs, from clothing to real estate, with more than 50,000 listings that facilitated over $2 million in transactions every month. In comparison, Taobao was dwarfed by EachNet, but both were a mere shadow of the giant looming in the backdrop, eBay. Barely 2 months after Taobao's launch, eBay announced that it was coming wholeheartedly to EachNet, fully acquiring it. The war for China's most lucrative online industry, e-commerce, has begun.
EachNet is by far and away the leader in the online trading community business. So the combination of a leadership position and an excellent management team made EachNet the logical choice.
Rebranded as eBay EachNet, the company was quick to get the ball rolling. Already a global player with a presence in 153 countries, particularly in America and Western Europe, eBay had a tried-and-true blueprint for dominance. First, acquire a local equivalent. Second, assimilate them into the common eBay platform. And third, outperform their competitors with superior marketing. This strategy fostered impressive innovation, improved cost efficiency, and accelerated market entry. Different markets could propose new features, and any such feature could instantly be deployed worldwide. The theory assumed that if 153 countries contributed innovative ideas, Taobao would not last. While eBay's engineers worked on merging EachNet into their platform, Taobao was busy doubling down on its local appeal. Some team members hailed from Zhejiang and suggested modeling Taobao after Yiwu's bustling wholesale market. The market is almost equivalent to the Times Square of New York City, if each billboard was a shop selling shoes, jewelry, clothing, toys, or electronics. Today, the market still has about 70,000 outlets, where some 40,000 people come and visit. Designing Taobao after this cacophony of colors and products made every pixel on a screen seem like a product to be sold, a real mess to a foreigner, but a delightful treasure hunt to a local. Taobao also borrowed a page from Alibaba, the leading B2B platform, by offering free listing services. This was a market departure from eBay's model, which levied listing fees and transaction commissions on sellers. While eBay's pricing might have dissuaded some users, their marketing team worked to make up for it through a dual-pronged approach. They first struck lucrative deals with major internet portals like Sina, Sohu, and NetEase as exclusive advertisers in the e-commerce category, effectively blocking competitors. Then, they ventured into out-of-home advertising, snapping up ad spaces on buses and subway platforms. eBay could be found everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. A critical location they neglected was TV. An understandable but painful mistake. Taobao realized early on that winning the e-commerce war meant attracting more merchants. While customers were online, prospective small business merchants were offline, tuning into TV. Quick to seize the opportunity, Taobao struck contracts with major TV channels, thus attracting even more merchants. As eBay and Taobao wrestled for attention, a new obstacle surfaced: the increasing value of transactions and their geographic reach underscored the importance of trust. Customers are wary of paying in advance, while sellers are hesitant to dispatch goods without receiving payment. This has created a considerable trust gap that can only be solved through a better payment system. The battle for e-commerce is shifting, and now both eBay and Taobao have to swiftly conquer the e-payment sector, or risk losing all the merchants they've acquired.
Eachnet.com, how are you going to grow in the face of an established company like eBay coming out with its Chinese language site?
Actually, eBay and our C2C site Taobao, we just had fierce competition last year.
It was the end of 2003, and Ni Xingjin, known as Ni, had been toiling away in Jack Ma's Hangzhou apartment. Ni embodied the quintessential accounting graduate, but with a twist. He had taught himself computer science, culminating in the publication of a thesis on data authenticity. His unique fusion of accounting acumen and practical tech skills positioned him as the perfect person to solve Taobao's most challenging problem. At that point, the entire e-commerce platform functioned more like pseudo-e-commerce because users were afraid of getting cheated. Instead of dealing online, they would, at best, communicate online, then meet in person to exchange cash for the product. This limited Taobao scalability, limited by region and price of the items. Ni might have felt a sense of desperation. Rumors of PayPal's imminent arrival in China circulated, especially as eBay had acquired the payment giant in 2002. If PayPal managed to charm the Chinese authorities, Taobao was in danger. Additionally, Tencent, an emerging internet behemoth, had just released virtual coins in their messenger app. People were trading real money for these digital tokens to spruce up their avatars. If Tencent could persuade e-commerce vendors to accept these virtual coins, they could become a potential rival. With limited alternatives, Ni brought a proposition to Jack Ma. Jack? I propose we make our finance team the intermediary for transactions. Jack looked puzzled, so Ni elaborated. Taobao becomes a sort of guarantor. The buyer transfers the money to us first. We hold it until the buyer confirms they've received the item. Jack felt uneasy. At the time, private companies were not allowed to enter into finance. So depending on the perspective, Ni's recommendation could turn Taobao into an illegal enterprise. Jack, perhaps gazing out at the freedom of birds in the sky, stated his most famous line to the future Alipay team. If someone has to go to jail, I'll go. Emboldened with Jack's support, Ni formed the original Alipay team, consisting of a finance manager, one accountant, and one teller. Then they requested for the option on Taobao's page titled Guaranteed Transaction. All that was left to do was wait until someone... An Alipay team member sprinted over. Our first transaction went through! The room filled with exhilaration until they noticed that the order was quickly canceled. The buyer wanted a refund. One of Taobao's team members, known as Chen, seemed particularly rattled. What's this transaction? Let's see. The Alipay member scanned the details. It was for a Fuji camera. Wow, for $110? In the fall of 2003, a curious freshman at Xi'an Institute of Technology had been dabbling in photography. Intrigued by the art of capturing moments, he found a used Fujifilm 1.5 megapixel camera for sale on Taobao. Despite the $110 pricing, equivalent to a month's wage in Alipay, it was considered a bargain, and the posted images showcased a well-maintained device. The only problem was the seller's location. A Chinese college student in Yokohama, Japan. After a 3-day chat negotiation, they decided to test Taobao's guaranteed transaction feature, entrusting the money to Taobao's finance team first. This transaction was significant for Taobao. The value was huge, and its successful completion could establish trust for much smaller future transactions. Chen, a Taobao team member, felt the weight of this order. Driven to ensure its success, she requested the buyer's phone number. Hi, who is this? This is Chen from Taobao. You wanted to buy a Fujifilm camera, correct? Yes, I did. But I just canceled it. And I want a refund now. What if I can guarantee your money? Huh? What do you mean? If the seller tries to deceive you, I'll refund you with my own salary. This proposition bewildered the buyer. Yet no better deal seemed conceivable. So, if I don't receive the camera, you will personally give me back my $110? Yes, I assure you. Please don't proceed with the refund. Trust me. Okay. I agree. That day, the buyer experienced a whirlwind of emotions. Either he'd stumbled upon the best e-commerce deal, or had walked into an elaborate con. On October 18, 2003, the transaction ending in 0336 marked Alipay's first ever successful deal. A moment enshrined in Alipay's Hangzhou headquarters. At the time, Alipay's operations were exceedingly manual, involving faxed bank slips and tedious data entry. Nevertheless, the effort proved worthwhile, as Alipay's popularity soared in the ensuing months, boosting businesses that adopted the service. Initially, Ni would gleefully share a message with his coworkers whenever daily transactions hit 100,000 yuan. But as the business expanded, he upped the bar to 1 million yuan, jokingly asserting that it wouldn't surpass 7 million yuan. He wagered and agreed to run shirtless across the office if it did. Sure enough, he kept his promise. Quite a spectacle considering Ni would later become the president and CTO of Ant Financial, a fintech company managing over $250 billion in assets. But back in early 2004, just 3 months after Alipay was launched, eBay had decided to ramp up its financial solution. Their previous reliance on PayPal, a $1.4 billion acquisition, meant to revolutionize e-payments globally had hit a wall in China. Chinese officials remained unmoved despite PayPal's efforts. At the time, the Chinese currency wasn't freely convertible, hindering foreign payment providers from automatically exchanging currencies or offering credit. Manual conversion of numerous microtransactions was unfeasible, rendering PayPal ineffective in China. Fortunately, eBay had established a China Development Center, their Chinese headquarters, which proposed a structure akin to Alipay. In December 2004, eBay would release their version of Alipay, named AFT, bringing the fight once again to Alibaba.
The fact is, this company hasn't started to make profit.
And we anticipate that eachnet over time will become quite profitable.
From One Up Media, this is Empires, Episode 3 of a 5-part series, Shark in the Ocean. Next on Empires, we'll observe as eBay continues swimming deeper into Alibaba's territory, along with another shark, Amazon, and learn about the transformative deal that turned Alibaba into the behemoth we know today. Follow us so you won't miss out on Episode 4 of our 5-part series, Crocodile by the Yangtze River. Empires is a One-Up Media original, produced and edited by Guang Jin, audio experienced by Ethan Sam, and narrated by Luis Cruz. A quick word on our reenactments and dramatizations. While we can't know exactly what they say, think, or feel at the moment, it is all based on research. Thank you for listening.